The legend of the R34 is usually a story of preservation, but what happens when someone decides that perfection isn't enough? Most people see a 2000 Nissan Skyline GT-R and see a museum piece, but in this workshop, they see a skeleton waiting for a soul. This isn't a restoration, it's a surgical reconstruction designed to transform a 90-plus icon into a very fast, very distinctive supercar that would make even the silver screen heroes of the early 2000s take a second look. The journey begins with a stock version that, while legendary, is far from its ultimate potential. To build a beast, you first have to destroy the masterpiece. The transformation begins with a brutal, systematic teardown. This isn't just about weight reduction, it's about accessing the car's DNA. The interior is the first to go. Seats are ripped out, followed by the rear bench and the backrest. Every plastic pillar, every inch of upholstery, and the entire headliner are discarded. Even the steering wheel and the cassette player, relics of a bygone era, are removed to expose the skeletal dashboard. They go deeper, pulling the air conditioning fan and the evaporator, effectively hollowing out the cabin until only the wiring harness remains on the floor. Once the doors are stripped of their panels, the car is little more than a glass-filled cage. But even the glass isn't safe. The front and rear windshields are popped, the fender flares are detached, and the door glass is set aside. Then comes the heavy metalwork. The insulating barrier between the trunk and the interior is cut away, revealing the thick, stubborn floor insulation. Most would spend days scraping this by hand, but the team uses a specialized trick: dry ice. By freezing the insulation to sub-zero temperatures, it becomes brittle, shattering like glass under a hammer. It's a satisfying, clinical process that leaves the metal floor pristine and ready for the next phase of its life. With the car hollowed out, the structural reinforcement begins. This is where the car gains its backbone. Welding torches flare as the mounting brackets for a professional roll cage are fused to the chassis. This isn't just for safety, it's about torsional rigidity. Every weld point in the rear section is secured, sealing the side openings of the rear fenders in the process. Once the main support is locked in, the rest of the cage follows, turning the interior into a web of high-strength steel. A coat of primer acts as a protective skin over the fresh welds, preventing the silent enemy of old Japanese cars, rust. But the work isn't confined to the cabin. The front end undergoes the same reinforcement, ensuring the chassis can handle the massive torque of a modified engine. The car is then hoisted on a hydraulic lift, its lifeblood, the coolant and oils, drained away. The front wheels, bumper, and headlights are removed, followed by the hood. One by one, the mechanical organs are extracted. The exhaust system, the catalytic converters, and the drive shaft are all disconnected. The subframe, once the foundation of the car's movement, is lowered onto a platform, leaving the R34 as a floating shell. This is the moment where the project shifts from a build to a complete re-engineering. Most Skylines are prized for their rear-wheel drive heritage, but to compete with modern supercars, this icon needs the grip of all four wheels. Converting a car from RWD to AWD is a task most mechanics wouldn't touch. It requires replacing the front subframe entirely, which means the front end of the car will never be the same. The team brings in a new engine block and an oil pan integrated with a front differential. To make this work, the chassis has to be physically altered. They lift the car, remove the old front frame, and begin cutting. Excess metal from the chassis is sliced away to create mounting holes for the new AWD components. It's a high-stakes game of millimeters. Once the cuts are made, they use thick steel plates to seal the openings and reinforce the new structure. The transmission tunnel also needs surgery. A large opening is cut to accommodate the new 5-speed GTR manual gearbox, which is significantly bulkier. A custom sheet metal cover is designed and welded into place, creating a new home for the heart of the drivetrain.
Weight is the enemy of speed. In a project of this scale, every gram counts. The old, heavy fuel tank is discarded in favor of a specialized 6-gallon racing cell. But installing it isn't a simple swap. The trunk lid and rear bumper are cut away to make room for a custom-designed frame. This frame is shaped and welded to the rear of the car, securing the small fuel tank in a position that balances the car's weight perfectly. While the fuel system is being finalized, the suspension undergoes its own evolution. The rear subframe is outfitted with high-performance bushings, pressed into place with hydraulic force. Control arms, hubs, and camber arms are attached with surgical precision. Every component used here is a Nissan Motorsport part, engineered to survive the heat and torque of a track-focused beast. The wheel bearings are pressed in and sealed, ensuring a lifespan that matches the car's new performance capabilities. To wrap up the structural work, a new skin arrives: carbon fiber fenders, a carbon fiber trunk, and a wider hood. The R34 is no longer just wide, it's aggressive. The blue reveal. With the bodywork prepped, the car moves to the paint shop. The old blue coating is stripped away, taking the car back to its original white primer. But the vision for this car is cinematic. The team decides on a two-tone finish, a glossy, high metallic silver accented by deep racing blue. It's a nod to the past, but with a modern, high-end finish that screams supercar. Before the final spray, there's one last bit of surgery. The rear fenders, which are part of the car's unibody frame, are cut away. New, much wider arches are welded in their place, creating a silhouette that is noticeably broader than the stock GTR. Once the welding is finalized and the body is smoothed, the car enters the booth. First comes the silver, then the carefully masked blue stripes. When the tape is pulled back, the result is a masterpiece. But beneath that beautiful paint, the real work is just beginning. The suspension is reinstalled, featuring blue brake calipers that match the exterior accents. The entire braking system is a work of art, designed to stop a car that is now capable of terrifying speeds. The final assembly. It's a race against time. The engine, a fully modified powerhouse, is lowered into the bay. Because of the AWD conversion, every dimension has changed. A custom transmission mount is fabricated on the spot, welded directly to the chassis to ensure the gearbox doesn't budge under pressure. Inside the cabin, the transformation continues with a full carbon fiber dashboard. It's a minimalist's dream, housing only the essential buttons and a high-resolution instrument cluster. The engine bay becomes a maze of high-performance plumbing. A massive turbocharger is bolted to the manifold, requiring more cuts to the front chassis just to fit the intercooler. An oil filter with a custom-built mounting bracket is tucked away, protected by fresh paint. The electrical system is equally complex, featuring a new ECU and power distribution modules mounted under the dash. Nitrous oxide tanks are secured in custom-designed frames, their pipes running through the floor to the engine. The steering wheel is fitted with carbon fiber shift paddles, completing the cockpit's transition into a modern racing environment. The first breath. Every project has a moment of truth, the first start. After the fuel lines are connected and the fluids are filled, the team gathers. They've replaced the transmission, converted the drivetrain, and rewired the entire brain of the car. The key turns. Silence. The engine refuses to fire. The tension in the workshop is thick. They dive back into the wiring, tracing the fault to the power distribution system. A quick fix, a few adjusted connections, and they try again. This time the engine coughs, stumbles, and dies. But on the third attempt, the modified block roars to life. It's a visceral, mechanical scream that justifies every cut, every weld, and every hour spent in the shop. The car moves out of the winch under its own power for the first time, no longer a 20-year-old Nissan, but a custom-built AWD supercar. It's a tribute to Japanese engineering, reimagined for a new era of speed. The only question left is, in a world of high-performance machines, would you take this over a German rival?